Hi everyone, my name is Jessa Astrid and you're watching my YouTube channel. So once again, Colourpop has launched another product. They are a monster. It is a 30 pan eyeshadow palette, so I wanted to swatch every single shade for you so you can see all the formulas in different shades, obviously. And also do a little quick eye tutorial at the end. So if you are interested in seeing this new Your Golden eyeshadow palette by Colourpop, then just keep watching. I am actually really excited to play with this palette. I just opened it up one time to check it out before I sat down, and it is so stunning. This is the little card that came in the package. It says Golden State, which is funny because I live in the Golden State, which is California. It has mattes, metallics, matte with sparkles, and pressed glitters, all into one. And so let's open this up and test it out. This is the palette Your Golden. I think they just launched this like 2 days ago. And honestly, I looked at it like one time before sitting down to film and it looks stunning. It is like my type of palette. The packaging feels like really high quality. For some reason, it feels higher quality than some of their other palettes, which I think is super nice. It is so pretty on the front. It's just like a nice beige shade. Obviously on the back, it has all the shade names in their little circles. Are you ready to see this beauty? You've probably already seen it on Instagram, but are you ready to see it again? So this is the palette. It just has so many neutral, warm tones that are like very similar, but they all have their differences from what I can see in the palette. And it also has obviously the few blue shades that just like pop in the palette. So I think this just looks so pretty. I think this is a really good launch. The packaging is super nice. It's actually like little hefty. So far, I really like this and I'm excited to play with it. I have not swatched or touched any of them. So as per usual in all of my eyeshadow reviews, I'm going to sit down, well I'm already sitting, but I'm going to swatch every single shade in the palette for you and go over every formula and shade name. And then I will do a quick little eyeshadow tutorial at the end to test out some of the shades on my actual eyeballs to test out the blend. So if you want to see me swatch this bad boy, then let's get started. So starting off on the very first row in the palette, we have a light peachy transition matte shade called PCH. Next we have a white shimmer shade called Jet Set. Next we have the blue shimmer glittery shade in the palette, which is Rum Season. This one is super sparkly. Next we have the shade One Way, which is a light shimmer champagne-y golden shade. Moving on, we have the shade Salty, which is a like rosy shimmer pink shade. And last we have the shade Hidden Gem, which is a warm matte transition shade as well. And that completes the very first row in the palette. It is very light and sparkly and pretty. Moving on to the second row in the palette, we have the shade Covette, which is a dark warm transition shade. Next we have the shade Secret Spot, which is a little bit warmer of a transition shade. Next we have the shade On Ice, which is a champagne-y shimmer shade. After that we have a bright matte coral shade called Remote. Then we have the shade Cruise, which is a cool-toned matte transition shade. And last we have the shade Illusion, which is a very similar to On Ice. It's a very shimmery champagne shade. And that completes the second row in the palette. This one is also very stunning. I really like the coral shade. Slowly starting to get a little bit darker in the palette. Moving on to the third row in the palette, we have the shade Weekend, which is a bronzy shimmer shade. This one is so buttery and smooth. I really liked it. Next we have the shade Sandy, which is a pinky orangey shimmer shade. Next we have the shade Lounger, which is a warm transition shade. Next we have the shade Bay Shore, which is a very yellow golden shimmer shade. After that we have the shade Suns Out, which is the shimmer blue shade in the palette. And last we have a dark brown matte shade called Private Beach. Now, instead of wiping these off, I'm going to very carefully try not to destroy my white pants. I have no idea why I wore white pants, but I'm going to swatch the last two rows on my other arm. So let's switch sides. Starting on the fourth row in the palette, we have the shade Must Stay. This is one of their sparkled matte shades. Next, we have the shade Saunter, which is a very warm matte shade. Then the shade The Palisades, which is a bronzy brownish shimmer shade. Then we have the shade Balmy, which is more bronzy shimmer shade, not so champagne toned. Next we have a brown matte shade called Prime Time. This one wasn't as pigmented as all the other shades. And the last shade in the row, we have the shade Daydreamer, which is this gorgeous black-brown shimmer shade. And now for the very last row in the palette, we are starting off with a dark brown matte shade called Cover Up. Then we have a very warm orange burnt shade called Slumber. Next we have another matte brown shade called Warmer Days. This one's a little bit warmer than the shade Cover Up. Next we have a matte sparkle shade called Bask. Then we have the gorgeous teal matte shade called Sporty. This one is so stunning. And the very last shade of the palette is a very dark brown sparkle matte shade called Flame. And that completes the very last row in the palette. All of these swatches were so stunning and I'm obsessed with every single one. And I can just tell that these are going to be beautiful in your eye looks. And I'm super excited to try these. So FYI, I already had a little bit of eye makeup on earlier, but I just removed my eyeshadow and put on some concealer on top of that, so I have a fresh, clean palette. And I also have a little bit of mascara on, but I'm just gonna leave that on and work around it, and that's no big deal. So if you hear some background noise, by the way, I have a little bit of family over, so they're all being a little crazy, but just ignore that. Anyways, as I was saying, I just finished swatching this entire palette, and honestly, I am really, really, really impressed. I don't know if they did something to their formula or I don't know what they did, but it seems like they changed or tweaked some of the formulas because every single shade was super, super pigmented and buttery and smooth. The mattes weren't like flaky at all, they were just like super, super soft and buttery, and I really, really like them. And obviously swatches aren't the same thing as using them on your eyes because of the blend, but I have high hopes because these swatches were really, really nice. And obviously you could see for yourself, but me feeling and touching everything, I was extremely impressed. I know I keep saying that, but I was. So a little information on the palette. Like I said, it is a 30 pan eyeshadow palette, so it is one of their bigger eyeshadow palettes that they have. On their website, it retails for $34, which is not bad considering all the shades you get and how the formula performed so far with the swatches. But right now it's on sale for $24, so it's $10 off. So if their sale is still up while this video goes up, I highly recommend picking it up now because that is a really good deal for this palette. A note that I also wanted to make that is a good note is that the shade names are also on the inside, so each little eyeshadow has their name right next to it, which I really love so that I can keep track of what I'm using, and it's just nice to have the names right by it and not have to like look at the back only for the shade names. So I really like that as well. So now moving on to the eyeshadow tutorial. It's not really going to be a tutorial, I just want to test out some of the shades on my actual eye so that I can test the blend and like the pigment building up on my actual eyelid. I had to finish that without taking a breath. So I think I'm just going to do obviously like a warm bronzy type of smoked out type of look just to test out some of the shades. So let's get started. So I don't want my look to be too dark. So I think I'm going to go into the shade Lounger. This looks like a good warm transition shade. The browns are very similar, but they all are actually different. They're not like too similar. I obviously wish there were a couple more shades like this dark blue one. They don't have to be like super colorful or anything, but just like a couple more different type of shades, maybe like a dark purple or something, I think would be really pretty. Just because there are a lot of matte brown shades, but that could just be personal preference. I get tired of seeing so many browns, but they are all very pretty. But anyways, like I said, I'm going into the shade Lounger on just a like round packing brush, and I'm going to pack this in the outer corner and into my crease. Not gonna do anything too crazy. And this part doesn't have to be too neat as well because we're going to be blending out anyways. Then once I have that all packed in, I'm taking a fluffy blending brush and I'm just going to blend out the edges a little bit just to make sure there are no harsh lines, of course. So far this shade is very pigmented and it's blending out pretty well. I thought it'd be a little bit more orangey looking at it in the pan, but that's okay. Kind of flicking it out towards my temple as well. Then I'm taking a little bit of Hidden Gem. It's a lighter transition shade and I'm going over that on the edges just to make sure everything is blended out. The shade is really pigmented. It's like covering up all of the previous shade. Is that a good thing? I guess so. And then I'm mixing up a little bit of Lounger and Saunter. Saunter? Just just to make it a little bit warmer and darker. So far, everything is blending out really nice. It feels very smooth. And then just on the outer corner, I'm taking the shade Warmer Days, which is like a dark chocolate color. And I'm just packing that on the outer corner. Did I already say that? So now for my lid shade, obviously there are a lot of shimmer shades in the palette, so it's kind of hard to just pick one. I think I'm going to do a couple. I think I'm going to do Sandy and Suns Out, which is the pinker shimmer shade and also the blue shimmer shade. The rest are more like neutral, beigey, golden tones, and I know those are going to be fine. I want to kind of see the different shades in the palette. So that is what I'm going to do. And I just did my nails, so they are like extra long, so I can't use these to apply my eyeshadow, so I'm going in with a little flat like concealer type of brush. And I'm going to do the pinker shade on the inner half and then the blue on the second half. So this shade is really stunning. It's like a peachy pinky shade, kind of orangey as well. And I think it looks really pretty. And then on the second half, like I said, I'm going in with Suns Out. This is the like blue shimmer shade in the palette. And I'm going to put that on the center to the outer corner. Look at how pretty that looks. I'm gonna zoom you guys in a little bit. I don't know why I forgot to do that. Look how pretty that looks with the pink and the blue. I think that looks so stunning. It just feels so buttery and smooth. So I think that's all I'm gonna do for the eye. Just a little kind of quick summer smoked out tutorial. I don't want to do anything too crazy because this was more about the actual eyeshadow, not like a random eyeshadow tutorial. If you want to see a more like in-depth actual different eyeshadow tutorial using this palette, let me know and I can definitely do that video. But this is just like a simple test out type of deal, you know? So let me go finish the other eye off camera and I will be back to tell you my final thoughts. So I finished my eye look and I threw on a little light lash so that you could still kind of see the eyeshadow. So overall, I am really actually obsessed with this palette. It just feels like so luxury for Colourpop, just the overall packaging and like the weight and the color scheme, just overall just comes together and it just is super, super nice. I definitely know that this is going to stay on my desk and replace a lot of like my go-to everyday type of eyeshadow palettes. I have a couple that I kind of lean towards, and this is definitely going to replace those. So considering that this is going to be very wearable and I'm definitely going to get a lot of use out of it, I highly, highly recommend the $34 to $24. Right now it's only $24. So I highly recommend you go and pick it up now if that sale is going on. Even if it's not going on, 34 bucks for this eyeshadow palette is really, really good. Just a little over $1 per eyeshadow, so go get it. This is not sponsored. I just like talking about makeup with you guys and you guys should know that. Do I even have to tell you that? I hope not. But anyways, I really hope you enjoyed this review. It was super fun for me and this was just very relaxing. Sitting down and talking to you guys about makeup and reviewing things is just like my meditation for my life. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to follow me on all my other social media. It is Jessa Marie Astrid on Instagram and Jessa Astrid everywhere else like TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitter. You can also text me at my personal number. It is 323-208-0782. That is just where I chat with you guys and send you updates on my content. Comment down below any other products or brands or collections you want me to review and I will definitely go pick them up. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys again for watching. I love you so much and I will see you very soon.